Okay. First of all, thanks so much for being here. We really appreciate it.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me by.
So I think the big question is, you're coming here to speak to CARP, which is, CARP used to being a pretty big, influential lobby group representing a demographic that votes. But I guess what CARP is used to are leaders who are baby boomers, kind of close in age, and suddenly all the leaders, yourself included, are younger, very much younger. So I guess there's a bit of a worry that, your interests will lie with other issues.
Well, part of the reason why I'm here today is certainly to put to rest any of those types of concerns. I think it's a great thing that young people are getting involved and engaged, and as a result, federal parties will have to contemplate that as they put policies forward. But I believe that you can do those types of things without disadvantaging any other demographic or any group. So my message today is to say issues affecting retired people, issues affecting seniors will always be top of mind. It's the demographic that has always been most engaged when you look at the different age brackets, and our party has always had a strong record on that. So I want to listen. I'm still in the listening tour phase of my leadership, find out what are some of the issues that are out there, but certainly to send the signal that as we develop our policies, the Conservative Party will always have those issues, seniors issues, retired issues facing retired people at top of mind.
Okay, well, it's even like you're talking about retired people, and that's the old name of CARP, but people are working longer,
Yes,
both out of necessity and because they want to. I'm married to a guy, I'm not even allowed to say how old he is, and he has like the most challenging job of his life now. And one of the issues that CARP is going to take up has to do with mandatory RIF withdrawals, where people are forced to take out a hunk of their retirement savings, whether they need it or not. And we're living so long that suddenly you can wake up at 95 and you have no money left.
Yeah, and you're absolutely right. I think that there's a lot of overlap between issues facing seniors and young people. There are a lot of issues. My parent, I lost my mother during the leadership campaign. She spent the last few years of her. Thank you. She spent the last couple of years of her life in and out of palliative care and assisted living centers. But she was active and with it, and with a little bit of extra home care, she could have had a more productive life. My father is still active. A lot of issues facing my generation in terms of providing support and care, but as well making sure that the resources are there so that as people get older, they can still have active lifestyles and contribute. And specifically to your point on the RIFs, I believe very firmly in flexibility and choice for people. And we're taking a look at some of the policies, but I am very sympathetic to the idea that allowing people to have maximum control and flexibility for their personal finances is the best solution for exactly as you said, people living into their 90s, being very fit. My wife's grandmother is, I won't say how old she is, but she's very active, and she's worried about how long she can stay in her home based on the savings that she had. So at the end of the day, the government gets its money anyway. So I think we should look at ways of making the RIFs and other types of things more flexible for individuals.
And also in terms of healthcare, a federal role in healthcare. You mentioned home care, which is a big issue, but one of the things that happens, people are staying in their homes longer, but when they suddenly can't anymore, that totally backs up the health system because suddenly they're taking up hospital beds when they should be in long-term care, but long-term care is not available.
Oh, I had so many times when I was in the hospital with my mom, and if she could have gone home, she had to stay in a bed waiting for a procedure to be done, using up a hospital bed. She would rather have been in her home, but as soon as she left, she'd be treated as an outpatient, and she'd go on some waiting list and maybe take months to come back in and get the test or the procedure. So I think there's a lot of issues around that all levels of government, the delivery is provincial, the funding is shared with the federal government, but we have to look at ways to get out of these silos and these boxes that we've created that at the end of the day doesn't provide good service to the patients and costs taxpayers so much money in waste. So I think it's time that we had some of these frank discussions about those the rigidity of our system sometimes, and home care is a big part of that.
Finally, the big issue for CARP at the moment is pension reform, and it's putting pensioners at the head of the line of creditors as opposed to the back of the line. Are you going to commit to do that if you win?
Well, I can tell you that it's something that we're listening right now. Again, not to kind of bring in too many personal sides of the story, but my dad worked at the Ottawa Citizen. He has a CanWest pension, and we know the trouble that's facing the news industry. And he has a lot of anxiety. We have a lot of conversations about what would happen if the worst ever came about. I have a tremendous amount of sympathy for people who have worked their entire lives with a promise, with an agreement that they gave their labor, they gave their time, and part of that
their money,
and part of that was that there would be their money waiting for them, and the contributions that were agreed on would be there at the end of the working life. And to tell someone who's 70, 72 that the rug gets pulled out from them, they don't have the ability to go back into the workforce and make that up in many cases. So not in a position to make a commitment. I want to listen more about it, but it's something that I'm very sympathetic to. I'm very sympathetic to what we're seeing now with Sears and other types of large employers, and whether it's a small business too. It doesn't really matter the scale of the company. Each individual is going through that hardship. We need to make sure that we have a regime in place to protect people.
Okay, thanks so much.
Thank you.
Look forward to hearing you inside.